Hey, check that out. Immediately grabs Ranger J and Mr. Carthrick himself. Wow. We have no Wolfie today. No Wolfie today because Wolfie has like a brother or something who has a birthday. It's incredibly inconsiderate of him.
How dare him.
I know, right? I know. Cool. So if it's cool with you guys, we'll just kick right off. We'll find out what we get to talk about today.
Sure.
It'll be great. It'll be a good time. It'll be real cool.
Sure.
All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another podcast. Tribe Talks episode maybe 6. Could be episode 6. Might be. Keeping tracks of numbers and episodes is not my strong suit, and also is not my strong suit is running an agenda. So today we are going to talk about item number A is whatever we want to talk about, and B is whatever comes after that. So, how are we doing, gentlemen? Today I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Ranger J and Carthrick. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I've been worse. It's been a good week. It's been a very good week. It's been fun. It's been busy, but fun. Lots of good stuff coming out of CG, you know? Those additive drops that we've got, the double drops that we're going to be getting in, what, about a week's time? No, it's less than that. 3 days' time?
3 days on the 23rd, yeah.
Yeah, I've been making bank on those Captain Rex shards. I've been making absolute bank. I'll probably hit 7-star by the end of the double drops. I'm encroaching on 6-star right now for Captain Rex. How are you guys doing? What are you guys farming for it?
I am finished with Captain Rex. He's already relicked. So I'm just hitting Knisa hard. I'm actually doing the 200s up to. So
nice.
Do the 50s in the morning, get that energy hit. Then do the 100s in the afternoon, and then at night get that next energy hit, and then do the 200s, and that's what I've been doing with Knisa. And she'll be past 5 stars today and going to 6, and we still got 3 more days. So
yeah, tell me about
it. Nice, really nice.
That is good. Carthrick, I'm pretty certain you're already done, right?
He already bought everything. Next.
I threw my wallet at the screen once, and boom, 7-star Rex.
I mean, so the main thing is that when I knew of the event coming for Knisa, I was already like exactly 50 shards away, and I was like, do I care? Or well, the other thing too is I can't spend my my energy. I'm hoarding for GL Leia tickets, so I was like, I can't bother.
First world problems, isn't it? It's like, I can't take advantage of the double drops because I'm hoarding energy for the next GL.
Yeah,
exactly. If only we could all be in such a position, right?
So I didn't see the purpose of it, so I was like, I'm gonna pass that up and just buy her out from shipments. Which I mean, it would have been cheaper to do one, but then I wouldn't have the other, and so la-di-da-di-da, here we are. Rather have GL Leia day 1 than Knisa cheaper.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
For us normal human beings, we're doing it differently.
Yeah, we're taking the scenic route towards farming a GL.
Yes.
You know, some of us walk it a little bit faster than others, but
the Express Highway.
What the American Express Highway? Yeah.
Yes.
I like it. No, it's good. I've been it's because I'm still farming for like Jedi Knight Cal Kestis at the moment. I've been able to keep up a couple of the shard farms for that. I think I'm still doing, I'm still getting Seer shards, and obviously I'm getting Merrin because she's a fleet node, so that doesn't matter. But there's another one. It could be Saw Gerrera is also a light side node, so I've still kept my shard farming up for those, whilst also still learning my Captain Rex drops. But yeah, I've been going up all through to the 200 energy refreshes right now on crystals, because I feel like I can get that Captain Rex quicker. And if I can get him quicker, I can relic him quicker, and then I can take advantage of the nice shiny Datacron that I've got with his name on it. And I want that.
Did you see the video I sent you this morning?
I did. That was utter filth, Carth. That was utter filth.
60 seconds for Phoenix to turn Lord Vader into a pile of poo. Like, that was amazing.
Who thought that Phoenix would be the faction to do that, right? I mean, just annihilate Lord Vader.
The level 6 doubles up on top of Hera's Ami though, because it's Hera's Ami, but available all the time. So when you have both active, it's just you ramp. So like when you're not critting but hitting for 100k, like on basics, like it's getting out of control in a heartbeat. But it was so much fun. I just was like, oh, do I really want to see if it works? I'm like, screw it, let's send it live, and then just destruction. Yes.
That the speed at which they ramp offense is just absurd. It's just, and Lord Vader can't control it with days because obviously it just immediately gets cleansed. It's it's nice to see. It's nice to see. I'm so going to use that. As soon as I get my Rex, I'll be like, yep, I'm taking him to R7 straight away. Yep, I'm going to throw these armies on. I don't care. Come at me, bro. But,
well, I think it's going to be, if you can get Captain Rex somewhat in sorts by the time 5v5 comes back around, like you have one of the cheapest Lord Vader counters going into the next season of 5v5 that it's just, I mean, it's way more consistent than Bounty Hunters. It's cheaper. It doesn't require a GL. You're not really going to use them many other places, you know, so it's kind of fun to have this team that just goes, meh, get wrecked.
Yeah. And, you know,
that's the problem.
It's not
that's
like...
the dilemma. Yeah, it's a dilemma I have because I'll have Rex, Ezra, and Hera, but the other two are tier 12. I'm like,
well, you only need Relic 3 for the, well, like, let's be honest though, you're not going to be punching Relic 9 Lord Vader's down with Relic 3 tunes.
What you need to do, Ranger, is you need to have a bunch of sub goals on your channel where they try to punish you with Phoenix, and it Uno reverses back on the community when it turns out that, you know, Phoenix are meta.
If I followed your path, then I wouldn't have SLKR and a bunch of Relic 9s that are trash.
What's
SLKR? I think I'll stick with the way I'm doing it. Yeah. As I, case in point.
New unit added the game when? Just curious.
When was that coming out? I mean, come on, dude. Yeah, no, so I've already got, Relic 9, Kanan, Zeb, and Chopper. So it's like, okay, I can take advantage of this.
Those two were jokes, but when Captain Rex dropped, it was like we went from like, oh, this is stupid, to like, oh, okay.
Oh, hold on a second now. And then the Datacron dropped as well, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it turned a meme team into a dream team. That's the way it's going to be. Dream Team Phoenix, baby. Yep. And the current sub goal is for an R9 Captain Rex. So, I mean, in an ideal world, I'd have Sabine, but she's like Gear 8, so
I mean,
might have to.
For the Kron, it won't matter.
Myself
so you got 4 months of not worrying about it, but even then, like, you know, get yourself to
SLKR. Supreme Leader
R5 or whatever, but it's just the that level 6 that's just absolutely clutch, you know, whenever they gain 5% counter chance and 10% offense stacking until they're defeated. It's unlimited stacking offense whenever they use a special. So whenever one person uses it, they all gain it. So it's like by the time a normal Phoenix team gets out of specials, they've ramped 200% offense.
That's quite nice. That's quite nice. Yeah. It doesn't take long at all.
That's if Chopper hasn't gotten any cooldowns the entire time.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to take advantage of that. I'll have to actually mod them all correctly, which I'm okay with. But,
I think it's really just going to be getting Rex fast, and then after that, it's it doesn't really matter because he pumps the turn meter.
Well,
that's the train running. So
that's what I'm going to be doing anyways. I need to reprioritize some of my speed modding because earlier today I managed to roll up my Qui-Gon Jinn army Datacron. So that's now got the Foresight level 6, the Qui-Gon Jinn level 9, 180% armor pen. No, sorry, 50% offense and about 40% armor pen. So I've got one more reroll that I want to do on the level 1 offense to hopefully get some more armor pen, but I think that one's going to be pretty filthy. I just need to I need to remod that Qui-Gon Jinn team. I want to give it a crap load of speed and offense so that it catches people by surprise, you know.
Hopefully. Well, in your area, it definitely will, because if you run like you typically run a fairly stout defense, so if you can usually chew up their GLs going to your GLs and they don't have a GL option for Qui-Gon, I mean, it's going to be a guaranteed hold just because when Qui-Gon goes down,
something dies.
Anakin's blowing up the board. Like, it's gone. Like, you have to control it. Like, I'm finessing the mechanics with Bad Bat, because you even if you outrun it, you can still get, you know, screwed by the team. So what I've been doing now is I've been trying to whittle down Qui-Gon to where he dies from the defense up, like true damage that you get.
Okay. Yeah.
But then I'm getting a double tap. So I'm trying to have the kill be where Echo calls Hunter to assist onto Anakin.
Oh, and the true damage kills Qui-Gon Jinn, and then the second hit kills Anakin, or something like that.
So Qui-Gon or Hunter's first hit puts expose on Anakin, and then kills Qui-Gon. And then Anakin takes his bonus turn, but then Hunter still has another turn and hits that expose again, and then pushes his turn meter back.
Oh, I didn't even think about the TM removal. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I just been
it's
just finessing some stuff, but yeah, it's a good time. I have to do it in 3v3 because I'm missing too many tanks.
Carthrick, you're missing too many tanks.
I mean, it's 3. I can't take tanks.
Okay, fine. Yeah. I thought we were talking about I don't have enough tanks to use. And I'm like, don't you have like 28 R9 tanks?
Yeah, they're on the
entire roster.
Pretty close. Pretty close. I would like more. I would like more.
Of course you would.
You would like more, of course you would, yeah.
Yes.
I got 4 tanks sitting in my favorited list right now. So,
oh my god.
I mean, I'm waiting for Leia though, so because I'll probably take her.
Oh, for sure.
To R8 or R9, and so I'm saving those mats there, and then if Drogon's a tank, then he'll go straight to R9 because I'm always gonna take a GL team to peak performance per se, right? So I'm always gonna have the GL R8 or R9 depending on how their stats work, and then the rest of the team will be R8 or R9 depending on their roles.
Just R8.
Yeah. Just easy child numbers there. Just R8 or R9, just casually. Just like, sure.
I mean, when everything's already R5, like you're not talking about a ton of investment.
No, it's not.
Yeah, just not a ton of investment. 20 girders. What's 20 girders between friends?
Yeah.
This is how the other half live, ladies and gentlemen. This is how the rich and powerful. The other 1% live.
Yeah, there you go. If half the people in this game played that way, holy crap, Kyber 1 would be a real shit show.
I can't even say it's the other half of this podcast conversation with two other people in it. It's the other third. It's only Carth over there. He's the only guy that can just be like, yeah, we're just going to do that because why not? I mean, yeah. Lobot, exactly. Absolutely, R9. Let me just, maybe not. I'll just take him to R8.
Yeah, just R8. Just R8.
Yeah.
A lowly
you wait.
R8.
He'll get a rework as a rebel tank, and you'll be like, huh.
I'm just terrified they're gonna drop a ton of Zetas between Drogon and Lobot, because I only have 8 Zetas sitting there, and Leia will need 6 of them. Yes. So I'm like, if Leia's still a month out, that's fine, because I get about 4 to 5 Zetas a month. In normal income, so I should be able to do it, but if she's tighter than that, that's gonna really mess me up.
Yeah, I'm under no illusions I'm not going to be getting GL Leia when she drops, but within a couple of months, hopefully by the end of the year I should be GL Leia ready. That's my goal, and that way I can start applying her in the new raid and stuff like that as soon as possible. That's my aim.
Scout Troopers, a Marquis, and Drogon. And I'm not gearing anything from this point moving forward. So the only thing I'll be doing here is Malicos is first. I mean, he's...
Oh, hell yeah.
We have that too. So that's the other thing I was thinking about.
I'm hoarding from this point forward today. I'm just hoarding for Malicos because I know it's going to take an astronomical ton of car tests.
Yeah, and you've got the team there, so it's like, why would you not oh my god, let me put in that 5th character for this baller team that's going to roll up some GLs and GAC, or put on defense where it's like you're going to need a specific counter or a GL to beat it.
I'm basically doing the same. I'm just also prepping for Jedi Knight Cal. So I've got my Malicos team is there. It's ready to go. They're all. Well, I say that I need to get Seer up to R7. I need to finish off her shards. But as soon as that happens, and it should tie up by the same time I unlock Malicos, it'll just be like, Relic 7 those guys, job done, stick it on defense for a while probably, watch people flail against it. because that's usually how I operate on new teams. I think that's how a lot of people do, to be honest. Brand new shiny team, put it on defense, let someone else worry about it. And then maybe we'll see what viability it's got in offense. I'm sure, offensively speaking, Malicos is going to be a monster, but I'm pretty certain on defense he's going to be cancerous. He's just going to be awful. So,
well, the Fear team is already fairly cancerous, right?
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
it's already obnoxious. You know, it needs, like, right now with the Kron missing, you know, Gas is back to beating it. But like Gas is one of the few teams that actually beats out the rip. Like even what's her nuts? Dr. Aphra struggles with that because of starting with tenacity up, so that you don't get the cooldown reduction, and you don't. It's really hard to land debuffs, and the protection up makes it really hard to get ramping on anything. So it's like she just stagnates for too long. You kind of have to have like a fast IPD, which that's a weird statement to have in this sentence. But the you know, it's just like it's very challenging to just take like even Aphra in there and beat it. So you kind of need something. And the only reason Gas can beat it is because they're ramping offense.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise you would almost stall out on it because they just gain so much protection up with Cal, and Fulcrum just hits like a truck, you know, and Seer's just laughing maniacally all the way to the bank with that one tap. You know, if you happen to time it wrong and Seer, you know, throws that one tap after Gas is sat, like character gone, game over. If it's not fives, it's nasty. So I think they're going to be punching it pretty hard. They really don't need TM per se to be to deadly. So I don't know if it's going to punch in like JMK or stuff like that. I don't think you'll do anything versus Jabba, but you know, another Ray killer, another JML killer, potentially Slacker, you know, things like that. That could be a lot of fun.
What's a Slacker? This is why I'm probably just going to throw it on defense, because I don't necessarily need another one of those counters. It could be nice, but you said it yourself. I like to set a pretty robust defense for where I'm at. So I think that's where it will have the most value for me. I'd rather watch my opponent do it.
Tarful and the Wookiees with this Telecron set is nasty. It is absolutely nasty. I'm getting holds left and right with that team.
What Wookiee squad do you use? Which Wookiees do you use?
Right now, I think what did we put on there? It's Smuggler, Chewy. Let me look at it real quick. And now that you mentioned it, let me go look.
That Smuggler and Zalbar.
Yeah, I think so. That's the one we went with. So let me look at it real quick. I'm pretty sure that's what we have on there. I've been getting holds with it already. It's like, damn. It's
I would
really
love
nice
to tell you that mine's getting holds, but nobody so far this JSC 3v3 season has got to my back wall. So
it's Clone Wars, Chewy, Zalbar, and Tarful, and it is just, it's been beautiful to watch it get hold.
Nice.
It's such an obnoxious team. They ramp defense so hard, and then they're just out there just doming things.
Yeah, and the reflective damage. It's just a really good team, and I'm even more excited because I'll have the 5v5 squad for it too. So I'm really excited to see what that does on defense.
Yes, it's a team that I just can't run right now, so I'm just like big sad.
Yeah, but I think the release of Jedi Cal, because Marin is a phenomenal character. Tarful's really good. The only one that's disappointing is Saw. I mean, he's okay.
I use that very sparingly.
Yeah.
Because Saw's team actually is quite fun, but the problem is that the odds of him finding something he can beat on the opponent's defense, like we go over this almost every week. The GAC board is just too limiting. So there's not a team he can really go after. But I mean, like I did a 3-man Saw team versus I can't remember what my opponent even used. I did Saw with Baze and Chirrut's just smacking people for like 100k. You know, he's not modded particularly well, but he just gets so much crazy offense out of it. And I've done some interesting things with it before, with doing like Chirrut, Baze, and then like SRP and Kara, because like for a lot of what I've got going on is Sana's kind of fallen off on being useful because she's just so easy to one tap with Wampa, or you have to sacrifice a lot of good components to make it non-Wampable. But then even at that point, all you're doing is going, all right, well, I just use Gas, or I just use CLS, or I just use whatever else, and then beat it. There's just in 5v5, there's just not enough for defense to make those B teams threatening without just getting rolled over by something more powerful, because they didn't have to use it somewhere else.
Yeah, it's like honestly, I'm still at kind of the bottom end of Kyber 1 at the minute. I'm somehow still winning in GAC. I don't understand. 3v3 is normally like it starts and I go 0-3, but I've gone 2-0 so far in 3v3, and I'm like, okay, this is surprising me. But even now, I don't see Seer very often. Like, and I don't see Sana very often either, truth be told. So it's
CLS is a hard counter to Seer. It just is. So
right.
I don't know how it is in threes, but I would assume with Grit, it's still a hard counter. With the combinations you've got. So it's just one of those teams. It's just there's always a hard counter, just anything you've got out there. I mean, we always talk about on offense, Riva. She's fantastic. I stopped leaving her on defense because it's just too easy to beat her with Trey and stuff. It's like, she's got a hard counter. Yeah. So you have to think about those kind of things. But I like Seer being there because if they're using CLS there, that means they're not using it somewhere else because, unless they want to go something heavier, because you're going to need something heavier with it. So it's kind of that chess game you have to play sometimes in GAC. I'm forcing to use this here. So when you see this in the back or something, you're like, uh-oh, I don't have that team. That sucks, kind of thing. So, yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I'm still using my Treya currently on defense, but the thing is this first week of 3v3, I haven't had the opportunity to really test it. I've gotten harder defense than I normally go for, but my opponents haven't really been engaging, which is why I've been winning, right? Like the first opponent, he attacked after me. I'd cleared 3 zones, I think, or something like that, maybe 2 and a bit. And he just cleared 1 team and called it quits. He was just like, I'm going to get 67 banners and I'm done. I don't want a 3v3, basically, it looked like. And the second round, the guy did attack. He killed 1 team and preloaded 3 teams. And I was like, okay, this guy doesn't like 3s. So I haven't really been able to find out, not yet, at least until the week's over, what are people using against that defense? And does she really have a heck of a lot of viability on defense where I'm at, So I might move it to offense. I don't know.
There is much more apathy with 3v3 than there is 5v5.
100%. Yeah.
It's just one of those game modes that, people are just not as interested in playing than 5v5. And you see that in the numbers. So you're going to have matches like that. And then, because if people go in there and if they have any poo-poo diarrhea, unless they're committed, they're going to be like, I'm okay. I'll just take my crystals and run. I'm good. So you see that a lot more in 3v3.
Yeah, you definitely do. You definitely see people just not caring as much, which is fine. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'll take the 900 crystals. Thank you very much. You know what I mean? I'll take that and be like, yep, cheers. Thanks. I need those right now.
Appreciate that.
That's a lot of Rex shards. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. So yeah, I've definitely benefited. And of course, today we did have the first return of the Leviathan event. So I took my 6-star Leviathan to 7 stars. And I'm happy to say that now that I have Leviathan at 7 stars, I am still not using him in Fleet Arena. So it's a worthwhile investment. Yeah.
I haven't fallen out. I think once since I've unlocked it. Like, my Fleet Arena shard was not very exciting. But I think since I've unlocked him, I have fallen outside of the top. Oh, hey, there's somebody in my guild or in my arena shard that finally has a 7-star Leviathan. Besides me, sorry, I just opened up to look. No, there's just it's a much more consistent fight at 7 stars versus everything, and that's the part you'll enjoy more. But I mean, still, it's going to be an offensive fleet forever and always.
It's not even that. It's like there's one other guy in my fleet shard with the 7-star Leviathan, and he's got the payout before me, so he's always there. And I don't want to mess around with a mirror match Leviathan, so I'd rather just take in a profundity and win every single time, as opposed to Leviathan.
Doesn't the Sith Fighter just give you the immediate dub?
Well, unless they both have the Sith Fighter, then it's still coin flip because.
Well, but there's no way. Unless he's. I doubt he's running it as the primary.
Honestly, I don't even know right now.
A lot of ones I have the Sith Fighter in there, and it's basically.
I imagine anybody that's running Sith Fighter in the starting lineup is only doing it for the mirror matches anyway, right? Because Sith Fighter in the starting lineup is objectively bad on defense. It's fucking awful. because it fucks up the reinforcements. It completely fucks up the reinforcements. They reinforce with interceptor first. It's like, oh, okay, so you've got a useless interceptor. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping that's something that CG is going to fix. That to me is definitely an oversight of theirs on the reinforcement order.
Yeah, there's still work to be done with the Leviathan. It's not dominating the meta.
Well, and there's another loaded phrase too, right? Because the King of Fleet Arena, you know, our interpretation sometimes isn't the greatest thing to go by. Because it's like, if you want to talk about dominating, are we talking about offensively or defensively? And it has been a common trope for CG since the introduction of, I mean, so many mechanics. I think really since like the Revens. That dark side is always offensively just dominating, and then light side tends to be more defensive, and holds better overall. So, I mean, if King of Fleet Arena means...
that was definitely the case with Negotiator Malev, to be honest, wasn't it? Like, Negotiator was just a better defensive fleet. Like, Malevolence was great on offense, because if you were actively controlling it, it plays so much better than you can play it so much better than the AI, but Malevolence on defense is generally not anything to worry about. Whereas Negotiator can be really annoying on defense.
Yeah, even for the Malevolence to work around. It's not even a guarantee. But that's been kind of their trope for a long time. So it's like, for me, I hate the ambiguity or however you say that word properly. That they come out when they say things like that, like the King of Fleet Arena. Like, are we talking about offensively or are we talking about defensively? Because it's kind of funny they're talking about investigating, you know, the efficiency of
I mean, that's the one thing we're looking to fall out, right? Is what is the result of that investigation into Profundity and Chimera matchups with Leviathan, if they change anything? Because it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to change anything.
Because they've done that with how many times with Fleet now, and they've never. I don't think ever since they've done we're investigating thing with the Fleet, they've never come out and nerfed a Fleet, because it's just too. It's just some of these kits get too complicated that you either make the power dynamic, like it's like changing one thing makes the fleet go from being beatable every time to being unbeatable by anything besides a mirror match, and the mirror match is like 45% win rate, right? Because it's gonna be, do you get your TM procs, do you get your, you know, do you win the coin flip out the rip, things like that. Which is a far worse meta to have. I would rather just relegate the Leviathan to being the offense than ever having to deal with the only thing that beats Leviathan is a 50-50 shot of mirror matching. Like,
I don't think anybody wants that.
I wish they had said that from the beginning. Like, if they had said it's going to be a dominating offensive fleet, that would have just put them in a much better position than what they put themselves in. They've
prepped that with GL Leia. They've said, look, offensively,
they did.
She's phenomenal. Defensively, maybe not so much. And that sets the expectation for everybody. Nobody's going to go into GL Leia thinking, yes, she's going to stonewall defense now. Nobody's getting that impression. And so long as she does actually go out and dominate offensively speaking, I think everybody's going to be happy, right? So
if she can get 65 banners on basically every GL, then I'm going to call that a W. You know, I'm not going to be too fussed about it.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it.
It's a solid investment for me.
I feel like I think that's the difference, though, is that I feel personally like we have enough GLs that operate well defensively. What we need is more offensive GLs, whereas I feel like the opposite is true of Fleet. I feel like it doesn't matter what Fleet defense you set, it's beatable. I feel like we need something that can banner strip with some level of certainty, or even potentially get holds, you know?
New factions. That's why we went with Sith Empire with this one, or Sith. And they need to do that with the next licensed faction. It can't be GR or Jedi or Republic, Republic or Rebels. It can't be those, because you have so many like, they never thought through the process of us using TIE Bomber with another fleet to go crush the Profundity. Like,
sure.
Yeah. But it has a mechanic that you
TIE Bomber
made
with the Profundity to crush the Profundity.
Yeah, to crush the Profundity. It's like it's the same thing with the Profundity beating the Leviathan. The mechanics, you either have to nerf the mechanics of the Profundity to be unable to get to alt faster, or you have to make the Leviathan more powerful. Which if they do that, I mean, there's only a few ways left to do that that I can think of that would just make it really hard to beat it with the Profundity, and then you only go down to the mirrors. And we've always tried the loudest when we are stuck with mirror match metas.
Nobody likes mirror match metas that are RNG based, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean,
who wants that?
You know, go back to the days of Generate Riven. You know, it's like
or Executor.
Yeah. Oh God. You know, coin flips here and there. You know, do they gain that little bit of turn meter and get the heal off right before? Like, what's the cooldowns like? You know, what's this, that, and other thing? And there's just too many things that impact that kind of play
I think
style,
that was one of like one of the most satisfying feelings for a very long time was after that 6-month-long or year-long Jedi Knight Revan meta where you are having like 4.5-minute mirror matches in Arena 5 times a day to try and get into first, and you go from that to using Darth Revan Malak against Jedi Knight Revan, and like you just annihilate it on auto in a couple of minutes. It's just like, oh, instead of 4 minutes, I'm spending a minute and a half. And even like the Darth Revan mirrors, they were super good. That was a case of, if you go first, you win in like 60 seconds. That's what I wanted for top of the arena meta. You know, just make it quick, make it enjoyable, and let's get in and out sort of thing. And that's what I wish Fleet was like. It should be like 60 seconds. Get in there and win. Not 4 or 5 minutes. We don't want timeout metas. It's just not fun. So
those would be the facts.
I'm glad we don't have that anymore. It was the same for, like, going back for me, the very first meta faction that I saw in squad arenas was Phoenix, right? In the early days. In the early days, everybody running Phoenix in arena. And those mirror matches would go on forever. Between Zeb and Chopper and Kanan, just keeping everybody alive forever. You'd just be like, oh my God, can I kill their Chopper? Can I get them to stop healing health before they kill my Chopper? Or are we just going to time out? That was frustration even back then.
It even goes back way back further years before you started at Scribbles, when we had the Dodge meta, where it was either went with Old Ben or you went with Count Dooku lead, and it was just it was a shit show, and it was just like, you know, who got the dodge, who got what win, who went first. It was all kinds of stuff, and it was really nasty. It was really nasty. So they've had these cycles before, but we'll figure it out. We'll get through it. But I am hopeful that we don't have the coin flip meta again, because it's really frustrating. You make an investment, you do all this stuff, and it comes to a coin flip or the right RNG. And
I think exec was just the worst for that, right?
That. Yeah, especially when you have players when you make that investment and you go max for relics and stuff, and you're like, I've done all I can as a player with modding and everything else to make this as effective as possible, and it doesn't matter because it's like, bink, heads. Oh, I lost.
Yeah, well, that and then you know the RNG of, you know, does Cad Bane get that double tap? Does he inflict breach both times? Who gets to the contract fastest? You know, when you have so many things that aren't like guaranteed in a mirror match, it's atrocious. You know, when you're doing it, you know, executor versus negotiator or malevolence or profundity or whatever, and winning or losing comes down to that, it sucks. But I mean, in those ones, it's kind of like, okay, but it's not that big of a deal. When it's a mirror match, though, it's like it's all a race against the clock. You know, so it's just I'm really hopeful we don't have more of that on the horizon. And I'm kind of okay with where they're going with if Leviathan is where it is and it just goes to an offensive fleet.
I'm okay with that.
It'll do 72 to 75 versus almost everything. Meta fleet. So
my last round. I mean, I've been bringing in all 3 fleets for offense, the main ones. I'm just not putting any on defense anymore. Got 72 to 75 each fleet. It's like, okay, I don't care what you put down. I'm just going to use this ship versus this versus this, and this versus this, and done. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. I because my Leviathan wasn't at 7-star, it was at 6-star. I put it on defense, but I was setting paper fleet defense anyway, so I don't care, because I was still keeping like a meta Empire fleet. I was still keeping Profundity and Executor for offense, and I still had stuff that can easily clean up, like a Radis fleet, for example, which is still, like, it's a terrible, terrible fleet. But the one thing a Radis fleet can actually do is clean up basically anything. It just can. And I don't like that, but you might as well have it. So for me, leaving that Leviathan on defense, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I think I was doing like Leviathan Negotiator Malevolence or something. It's not great. It's not going to hold, but I don't care because I'm playing lock them to the north and I'll go south sort of thing, you know? But hey, I got fed up of running a really heavy fleet defense and it just not mattering. I was just like, okay, fine. Forget this, man. I'm going full offense.
Yeah. Go ahead, Carth.
Oh, it's too hard to make it like, because before Leviathan, it was all about efficiency in Fleet Arena. So it's like I put the Profundity down to force you to use the Empire counter in a hopes that you get like a 65, right? You drop 10 banners on this fight versus the potential of getting like a 72 or something like that, which is possible with the fleet, you know. And then you do the same thing with Malevolence, and you do the same thing with the Executor, is you're trying to get everyone to off counter it and win the efficiency fight. That's what you were hoping for. Well, now it's just like with the Leviathan, it's not great on defense, so it's going to go to offense for basically everybody. If both players have it, right, it's going to go to offense. It will beat any meta fleet for good banners. So then you basically have to take out the other meta fleet with your Empire lineup or something, because like Empire lineup can beat up the Profundity or the triple attacker, Executor, or whatever else you need to do. It's like there's no really efficiency fight that you're losing anymore, because it's just like I have good teams now because I can reconsolidate, right? I'm no longer trying to split an Empire team between the Chimera and the Executrix to beat the Profundity and the Executor. It's now, well, I just have Leviathan beats one of those, and then the other version goes and beats the other thing, and then I crush you on that front too. So it's just it's fleets in a place where either the only way they're going to solve this problem is by adding more fleets to defense, so that you actually have to start.
And we've spoken about that in the past, how we definitely feel like we need more defense in general, right, in GAC at the Kyber level. Sort of, I don't want to. I hate the fact that CG has kind of tarred the entirety of GAC based on the league, not the division, because I feel like what operates well at Kyber 1 and Kyber 2 kind of hurts people in Kyber 4, Kyber 5, right? If Kyber 4, Kyber 5 has to set 4 fleet defenses and now has to set an extra 1 or 2 teams in the squad zones as well, I think they're going to feel that pinch a heck of a lot more than someone in Kyber 1 or Kyber 2. But I feel it does need to happen, because I'm always of the opinion that defense should matter. What you place on defense should have an impact, right? And currently, there's just so much you can just bulldoze through. And I say that being a relatively low GP account for Kyber 1, and I'd still happily take it. You know, I'd take more defenses needed. So
well, because you can set a fairly heavy GL defense, and if you take like Malgus to offense, Reva to offense, Trey to offense, Starkiller to offense, you know, all these GAC heavy Omicron teams, they'll beat so much stuff. And you're like, oh, well, you set 5 GLs down, but I have, you know, the GAC team that was built to counter that team. Okay, well, I use those to counter that, and then I use my other A teams to clear up the rest of your board, and you just had to sit there and look and go, okay, well, now how do I deal with 7 GLs and, you know, and everything else that's in play? So it's just, there's just so much power on the board right now. I mean, I'm looking for today pretty soon, you know, when GL Leia gets out here and Malakos gets out here, you know, it's like you're going to be able to set down all 11 ground teams as GAC triple Omni teams or GLs, and just laugh maniacally as your opponent tries to figure out how to clear that, because it's like basically there's somebody did this in your chat the other day, is like there's basically 3 ways to play GAC. It's like, so offense heavy typically beats defense heavy. Balanced typically beats defense heavy, and then basically when you have defense heavy versus defense heavy, then it's just it's an efficiency war. So it's like there's not this game mode where it's like if you play a stout defense, you're more likely to win. It's like realistically, if you play an efficient offense, you're more likely to win than playing a good defense. Sure. So it's like, I don't want you to one man my entire board, but if I put like gas CLS and stuff, and I just make you guess what's in my back wall, then, and I maybe get a drop battle, but I can take everything to offense and roll your face off, then I'm going to win because I didn't drop any battles.
This is where I always struggle in GAC, because I'm a really terrible efficiency player. I don't play efficient. I am I'm definitely one of those mixed players, right? I'm one of those mixed players that tends to operate a lot better against a heavy defense opponent. Because if I'm going, if I'm going mixed defense with a slight, probably like a 60-40 split in favor of defensive. So I'm slightly heavier on the defense compared to my offense, and my opponent can trip up, I'm usually okay to eke out a win from there. But if they go heavy offense and they just sweep my defense, I know I've got zero chance. I'm like dependent on one zone holding, at least one zone holding. If I could do that, I'm usually okay for the win. But I know if I just go all out offense, A, most of my opponents have got much more GP than I have, so they're able to do it necessarily more effective than I can. But B, I'm just not good at efficiency wins. I'm not. I'm just terrible at efficiency. I'd rather hope they mess up on my defense. So yeah.
Well, and that thing too is like, it's crazy how efficiency plays a massive role in it, because it's like getting 72 to 75 in fleet battles will give you so much grace for how you played the ground games.
Sure.
Yeah. Because a first round clear, if you're getting 62s to 69s, you're leaving like 6 to 12 banners a fight on the ground. And that's 2 fails on one team essentially. That's 30 banners dropped. Like, that's a massive swing. But everyone's like, well, if I just get the one tap, it's fine. I'm like, well, yeah, but dropping 30 banners means if they drop a battle on your ground game but play fleet better than you, they're still gonna win. Yeah. So it's like you have to play the game in a perspective of where's the important part to try to get the hold, and where's the important part to be efficient. And I think fleet, like Ranger said earlier, the important part is always fleet. You got to be playing fleet efficiently, because it's the most banners you can lose in the fight without losing the match.
Yeah, it made me flip because I was using Empire against Profundity, but sometimes I would get the 70 banner win, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Then I get the RNG where I would either lose or just get like 63 to 65 banners. And I'm like, why am I putting myself through this when I should just take the top 3 fleets and just go in there and crush their ass no matter what they put down? It's like I'm just not doing that anymore.
To be fair with you, Ranger, like the one thing, you're absolutely right, is like sometimes that counter works beautifully and you get good banners. The other side of it is if your opponent just decided to go full meta offense fleet, those counters just don't work very efficiently against anything other than the thing they're supposed to counter. So you end up there like, oh, this guy's got Holdo on defense. Yeah, I'll beat it, but it's like, it doesn't work very well. And now I've dropped an extra 5-10 banners. And you're just like, God damn it, man. I've tried to be heavy-handed defense, and he's just gone like, full offense. So I just stopped. I was like, I'm just going for the efficiency and fleet at least. Makes total sense. So
I've switched to I'm an efficiency fighter when it comes to fleet, and when it comes to the ground game, I'm a mudslinger. I like to get down and dirty. I like to place really hard defenses that make it really challenging. My opponents, it's like, I'm okay with you one tapping my Lord Vader if it costs you 12 banners to do it. If you're getting a 52 versus my Lord Vader team, winning. I don't care if you gotta take Slacker in there and lose everybody but Slacker. Yeah, you one tapped it, but I'll strip that 12 banners all day.
At what cost?
And but that's the thing, is like I rather commit to a heavier defense that requires committing good resources to a team versus like doing a Lord Vader Empire team with a split so you can do Maul Mandos and things of that nature. So it just depends on how you like to play, but then it also depends on the league you play in, because for sure. Like where we're at, a lot of where we're at, and where I'm at, it's a different game from where you guys are at. When everyone starts having the same toys to play with to a degree, you have to rethink how you play GAC, because I think it's like when you have highly specialized defensive team, you know, in Aromium or Chromium or wherever else that's below Kyber, you know, it does better because people don't know what to do against it because they don't ever see it. Versus, you know, in Kyber 1, it's like you see every team. You know, people
it's
have
usually the
their
same
little
sort of
projects.
teams.
Yeah. A slight variation at the top for the super like PvP guilds. They'll have like a little variation where they're like, oh, well, this one character really changes this team, like putting B2 with Afra.
Honestly, the
some
only
headache.
like the differences I feel is like, yes, in sort of Kyber 2, Kyber 1, you tend to see the same sort of defense. The thing that usually sets it apart is, do they have the armies, and how well optimized are the datacrons attached to those teams? That's usually what changes it, right? And you're looking at that Lord Vader and you're like, does he have 300% offense or does he have 50% off defense? Sorry. It's like those players that invest that much extra. That's usually the only thing that really changes. At least in my experience. I'm not lofty Kyber one.
How hard do you Datacron?
Oh, I thought you were going to say whale.
Well, it's all part of that too, but it's you can get fairly well in Datacrons without having to like spend absurd amounts of money.
I don't spend anything, and I've got 14 right now and 5 level 9s, and all I've been doing is just doing
no
conquest.
Idea. How many level 9 Datacrons do I currently have? Because we looked at was it Aesop Rocks, who basically had
29
like max. He's got 30 of the last set and 28 level 9s of the current set. It's just like he left 2 spots open. It was like, okay, I've got 1, 2,
basically
3, 4.
just to get rid of Datacrons. That's what he did it for. Was basically to cycle through Datacrons to these farms.
I've currently got 6 level 9s of Steadfast Resolve. The current new set 10, is it? And the previous set I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well. Apparently 6 is where I leave it. Apparently 6 of each. So I've got 12 level 9s at the moment. So I don't wail on Datacrons. I just farm conquest. Like Ranger does, I imagine. Just go in there, make sure you do your 50s, make sure you do your 100s if you can, and that way you can get yourself a good old stockpile of that Datacron currency. I mean, the changes to the Datacron store, phenomenal. I love the fact that I can buy data cache all the goddamn time now.
That's a big thing, because having that,
it's huge.
Just using 500 shards, I buy it religiously, because that was one of the things that would trip me up, and especially trying to get these. When you start doing a couple level 9s, couple million here, couple million there, and you start going, I had 30 million data cache, and now it's good. It's just good.
He's like, I came in with 30 million data cache, and it's gone so damn quickly.
Yeah,
the 8s and 9s are really expensive upgrades.
Yeah, so for me today and tomorrow, I'll take 3 more to 8. I don't need any more level 9s. As I said, I don't need Rex. I just need a secondary good clone one for the gas team. Because they'll get all those bonuses and stuff. And get the grit to 8. That's my next thing at 7. Get that to 8. Get the clone wars at 1 to 8. Then I'm just gonna take everything else to 6, and then as best I can slowly until the next round of conquest, and then whatever materials I'll get, I'll take everything that I can to 8. I did that with the previous set, where I only really had 1 9 on that set, but I have like an astronomical ton of 8s that are just with the stats and the 15% that I can throw everywhere, which are mainly for defense. I just throw those. I throw those everywhere on defense. But there was really not a character there. I was like, do I do Savage?
To be fair, for me, I don't often have the I don't often have the characters for the level 9. But if I've rolled something that is like adjacent to being perfect on the stats, I'll quite often just make it level 9 so I can fine tune that Datacron and really pump out a good Datacron, because the odds of like full odds rolling perfect secondary stats is so incredibly slim that I don't mind occasionally just being like, I'd rather have 1 perfect Datacron in the secondary stats than have a couple more with less than stellar stats or level 6s or whatever. So that's the only time I tend to go over. Again, I don't have a lot for this set. Obviously there's the Phoenix factions ones, because I've got quite a lot of them at high relics, but
makes sense.
Overall, I can't see me over investing in Phoenix Crons.
Well, you got to have the characters for this one too. Like Qui-Gon makes sense for a lot of people, right?
100%.
In your circumstance, Phoenix makes a lot of sense because you got the teams and stuff. But for me, I have some stuff that you don't. So I've got Tartful in the Wookiees. It makes sense to do that. A Mega with my Bad Batch, of course I'm going to do that one because that makes total sense to do that. And then Jedi Cal, I have Jedi Cal. I would be a fool not to put that on there. And he is absolutely a monster without the Datacron. With the Datacron, like, just enjoy beating the shit out of Malgus. Like, he just destroys Malgus like it's no business. He just sits there like, oh, my turn. Death. And then just wipes the team out. It's just like, he is unbelievable how good he is. So yeah, it depends on what you have available. But I think most people will have Qui-Gon, so that's not a bad one to do.
Qui-Gon's going to be wrecking Malgus going forward for the next 4 weeks or 4 months.
Yeah.
Just if you get it fine tuned when the archaic rights drops off and you lose all the defense, like Anakin's just gonna delete the team. Like it's just gonna. There's so many things now where when they move to this offensive board, which I think is probably the trend they're gonna run over the next couple, because I think people engage more with the offensive stats than they do with the defensive stats. Because Datacrons you place on defense, people don't give a care about too much. They just like, throw stats on it, call it a day. So it'll be interesting to see if they do another like heavy offensive set, because if that's the case, there are so many teams that are not going to be worth putting on defense because the budget counters that beat the crap out of them now are going to be like, well, why would you put that on defense? It's going to get beaten by name a thing. Like, it's hard for me now to pick a GL to put on defense because they're all so easily wrecked by budget teams.
Yeah.
It's like the only two I can think of reliably now is Jabba and Rey, and Jabba is like, do they have Marin? Do they have an Isis or Kron? They're gonna just, if they can't one tap it, which the one tap rate, even with the Kron, is pretty low. They just have a hard time ramping the offense fast enough to make it viable. But the still, I mean, it's a cheap 2-tap, but Captain Rex is going to turn Lord Vader into mincemeat here pretty quick.
Good. I'm so looking forward to that.
Reva just annihilates JMK, on offense. Well, when JMK is on defense, I suppose. So, and not many people are putting Reva down anymore or they're combining it into Lord Vader, but Lord Vader with Reva gets still beaten by Phoenix, so it's not going to change that counter.
Yep.
So, anyways,
which is so crazy, man. It's so
the
crazy
short of it is that there's just getting so many offensive teams right now that are just your typical defense isn't gonna matter anymore. It's just gonna be like, can I offense you harder back is gonna be the question. Like, I want to give you a load of Colaxium to make it a Star Wars reference, and if this gets too bumpy of a ride, it blows up in your face. That's kind of the route I think offense or the defense meta is going to head after the set 9 drops out. It's just going to be, can I make this so volatile that if you make one misstep and I ramp hard enough, I kill you outright.
Yeah, like it's funny you bring up the whole double tap scenario with Merrin and the Night Sisters, because in recent weeks of GAC, or maybe even last couple of months, I've been completely comfortable with looking at GL teams and going, yeah, I don't mind. If I got to 2-tap that, I'll 2-tap that. I never used to be like that. I used to be like, I must get a 1-tap, and then say like a Fennec counter to Lord Vader, and it goes wrong, and now you're completely locked out of clearing a zone, for example. Now I'd quite happily just be like, yeah, I don't mind. I'll go ahead and use Treya. I'll clear all the ads, then I'll send him Fennec, and I've guaranteed my double tap. I don't care that I've wasted a good team, and I don't care that I'm double tapping and losing banners. Sometimes for me, based on how I set my defense, it's more important for me to clear that section, because that results in me winning overall. I don't have to one tap everything to win. Funny.
When you lean heavier on defense, that has to become your mentality of clearing the board is more important than clearing it with a 1-tap every single time. Because it just puts your opponent in a position of, well, I have to do as good as you. I have to clear as many zones as you out the rip, let alone with efficiency, to stand a chance at winning. So if you clear all 4 zones, but you drop 3 or 4 battles, who cares?
Yeah.
Like my last GAC was a testament to that. I had 3 battles where it took me 5 fights to clear it, because I just had to keep whittling it down. I have 5 GLs on defense. I have Reva on defense. I have Treya on defense. I have so many meta stuff on defense, and I like, first round I was able to use Fennec with Brief and Bam to beat a Lord Vader with Maul and Thrawn, and then this last round I wasn't. I couldn't. The fracture lasted too long, and I couldn't get out and kill the sides, and so I had to multi-tap to kill. Go in again to kill Lord Maul, and go in again to kill Lord Vader. And then same thing with Rey, just sit there and whittle on her. Just like I got rid of one, got rid of two.
Do the old go in with a crappy team and get Rey to lifeblood herself below 50% life, and then let the team die and go in another round, and she can't damage immunity herself. Like I remember that being an actual strat.
Was to take who was it? I took in Bosk, OG Mando, and Dad Bod. And the plan was is to get the contract fast enough to when Rey lifebloods and goes into alt that I could then just delete Ben. And then come back and deal with just the two Reys with JML. And that did not happen because Ben just obliterated my OG Mando, and then I was left without being able to blow his face up before Rey healed back over 50%.
Definitely, OG Mando's biggest weakness is that he is a squish boy. He is very squishy. So that AoE damage from Ben, if that Ben is like high relics, modded for a lot of offense, has got an offensive datacron, that AoE comes and you go, oh dear lord, everybody's dead. What are we gonna do, Jim?
Yeah.
It's
well, it's the double heal immunity too. So it's like,
for sure.
I got locked in the heal immunity by JTR, and then I got just blown into the floor by Ben. I'm like, all right, cool. This is gonna be a great time. So, but it
Rey
took
in
me,
threes is just terrifying.
Yeah, but like Rey, the funny part to me is how much everyone shits on Rey. She is still the best defensive GL in the entire game.
Hands down.
I love her.
Like, do other ones occasionally come up and do better? Sure, but if you're staying up with the Rey meta, like having Cal on the team now, or having, even doing a little bit more investing into JTR, getting her relics up and taking advantage of that evasion mastery. It caused enough problems to make Starkiller not as consistent, or your Starkiller needs to be better. You need R8, you need modded for offense, you need to mod up your team to be bulkier.
That's one thing I like about the latest Datacron set offering offense and armor penetration is useful on a Starkiller team, because we've just lost our unaligned Force user crons. So no more Ben, no more Mara Jade Datacron. It's nice that this set has got armor penetration, which Starkiller himself can take advantage of. Like, even though it's light side, I still like that for Starkiller. So that's nice.
Yeah, I'm working on a couple of crons for that too, because just the damage out of him is going to be phenomenal in fives. And that's the thing too, is like, if you got the crons to counteract what happens in the meta changes and stuff like that, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. But
yeah,
I'm interested to see how the rest of shakes loose. Oh man, sorry, I had like, how do I get Terra Malicos and Starkiller to work together on the same team? But the answer is I don't think I can.
You can't.
Yeah.
In threes, I might be able to, with Seer lead, Seer, Terran, and Starkiller. But you just don't have the assisting. That's what the mechanic I want to take advantage of, was the assisting. But there's not much of assisting, because Terran will assist with the Kron.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That could be interesting.
Every ability she's going to assist.
Yeah, but
you have
Terran
to sacrifice a Jedi.
Ufa. Terran only assists Ufa.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to like see how I can loop together. There's just too many Ufas in the same team, so.
Yeah.
Not gonna work. Sorry. Random thought.
No, all good.
Deep thoughts with Carth RangerJ1999.
Okay.
With Whale Rick McGee. Yes.
Squirrel thoughts with Carth.
What? Squirrel thoughts is like, ooh, nuts. Let's grab them.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. No, it's interesting. I as much as community hasn't taken particularly fondly towards Datacrons on the whole, I do feel like they do add flavor and variety. I don't think it's even Datacron. Datacrons themselves are not the issue. It's more the way that they are very whalable and temporary. I think is what irked people so much about them, right?
Yeah, the biggest issue with Datacrons is the temporary nature of them.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest struggle that players have, and I know YCG did it because they're like, well, we did it because they're temporary because the power levels that they increase by are so astronomical that if we allowed you to keep them in perpetuity, you would have these brand new things that would just make
we'd
them
still be crying
powerful.
about evasion crons to this day. I'm glad the temporary.
Well, nobody would have gotten rid of dodge crons because like you would have to take like Rey to offense every time with her 75% damage booster just to go kill a dash team because they have 800% dodge, right? Like it's just it would just be crazy to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I completely understand where we're at.
The dash bonus turn cron as well. That was filth. That was utter filth.
Yeah.
You take a turn after everybody else's turn.
Yeah,
like,
they're learning because we haven't seen a GL cron in forever, and the reason is because I think they've finally picked up on the fact that GLs don't need extra bullshit. The stats they get from the crons is plenty for them. Trust me.
They've implied that Leia's getting one there. Like, wasn't it in their last post?
They implied that she would be used for datacrons, not that necessarily she would have a level 9. So my guess is that it's a still strong possibility that they do ship her with one. That's a strong possibility, but my gut tells me that odds are it's going to be like Drogon's going to get it.
Sure.
Or
someone within their team gets it.
Somebody Rebel gets it that makes it because I feel like that's the hard. Oh my god, I really hope
RT data.
Yeah,
I really need
shares
him to
100%
be part of the team.
stats. Instead of number crunch giving 10%, it's 100%.
No, just make that an Omicron. I do not want that to be a Datacron. I want that to be an Omicron. I want his Omicron. I want him to have an Omicron because I want R2D2 to be like an actual character I think about using. Like before being an R8 requirement for Leia. R2D2 saw basically one use for all of my playthrough, which was basically I need JTR and BB-8 plus 1. So we're taking R2. But how things
my poor R2, he's good, man. He's good. He's
a great character, and he's just
so dated.
Yeah.
And that's the only problem.
10% would be better if it was 10% of each individual character stats he was boosting, but it's 10% of his. So it's like, he's a support character. Why do I care if he's giving 10% offense? It's like 500 damage. Unless I mod him for crap loads of offense, then it's like maybe 1,000. It's like the same thing with like when you mod 5s, Like, do you mod 5s to be super, super offensive so they can, transfer those stats over when he dies? No. You mod him for the defensive stats and everything else because those are the stats that matter when he dies. It's like, all right, fine. I don't.
I don't know. Like back in the day when we were running cam, I used to mod my 5s for speed and offense. Like speed and offense
for the cam mission,
stats.
Yes. for the cam mission, yes. But like normal PvE, PvP use,
normal.
it was never about
a boatload of health. Like health, bit of offense if you can. It's nice, but not necessary. Speed is still good there, but you just don't want to you want to make sure that he doesn't inadvertently die from an AOE. You need him to sacrifice, right? You need him to sack.
Yeah.
So he can't die quickly. But yeah, it's funny old world. It's also more of a reflection of where we come in terms of power creep, because it's like you said, 10% of R2D2 stats, or you have someone like Starkiller giving 70 speed and a bunch of additional
100% health and protection.
It's like, okay.
100%.
Malachite, man,
Like,
that kid's
yeah.
still the
Do
craziest
these
thing I've ever
compare?
seen.
Oh my god.
Like,
Gross,
I
isn't
get
it?
they don't want to rework the character, but like, come on, like an iconic character being sidelined for trash so frequently is just frustrating. Like, I like, and like, you know, they're saying in the chat there, you know, like, you know, Padme can take him, and you know, like, I'm with you. But the thing is, though, like with Padme, is that like usually she's getting used for a Give Me team. So at that point, and there's just different supports I'm looking for. There's just different mechanics I want to have in play. You know, like Shock T is a great support for that because guess what? She dispels on a basic. You know, it's
Yeah,
like there's just
I
mechanics
tend
that
to use
R2D2
Ayla.
doesn't have. Yeah, or the stun, you know, which is
Yeah.
more reliable than R2D2 stun. And there's just old mechanics that are, you know, they didn't age as well. You know, it's like surprising, like Grandmaster Yoda aged fantastically, but you know, and EP got life back because of Mara. Otherwise, he would be
100%.
Yeah.
poopy.
And even more
but
so with Starkiller, like, you know,
yeah.
like,
Well, and like
it's
JTR
kind of like
is
CLS, really.
yeah,
Just
JTR is,
constant
you know, one of those
variable.
things where she's like, everyone's like, ah, she's really crappy. I'm like, yeah, but take her to R9, throw her back under Ray, and she's an annoying tank because her evasion just climbs so quickly.
Yeah.
People are always like, when people are looking at that Ray team, people are always like, I gotta get rid of that inspiration off Ray right out the rip so she doesn't stack, but they always forget about the ads. Everybody, if they've got inspiration, they're getting that mastery boost too. You leave that on JTR for too long, you can't hit her. Good luck. Hopefully you've got an unmissable, unavoidable attack or some way of stunning her, like that's irresistible, because otherwise you are not landing a hit. And every time she dodges, she's recovering that health and protection. So good luck with that. Like, she's a great character, actually, JTR. Very well thought out character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they used her quite well, and I mean, and then they brought out Zori to help build up the OG team. It's kind of funny now that the OG team is taking the new Resistance characters that they brought for Rey, and Rey's just taking whatever she can get her hands on. But I mean, in all honesty, Ray Ben can 3-man like most aboard because of how the AI targets the characters. So it's like you can 3-man JMK with Ray Ben.
Yep.
Nice.
Like, you don't need it. Or at the worst of it, you take Haldo, who again
cleanses and
fine.
does all that other stuff.
Yeah, take her. She's a tank. She does a great job. Like, you don't need to worry about it.
And you're not really going to use her anywhere
worst
else.
of it, if you need one more character, you know, BB-8, or maybe if you're desperate, R2. You know. Well, the unfortunate
great thing about
Ray
being,
part is that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the great thing about Ray having a little bit broader of viability is that you don't really mind, so long as it's a light side unit, you can usually make it work. Sure, there are particular units she synergizes better with, but like typically speaking, it's okay if you don't have. You know, you can throw it with some Jedi. You can throw it with some Resistance, you can throw it with Rebels, you can throw it with unaligned Force users. It all kind of works. Some things better than others, obviously. But she's quite flexible, Ray.
Yeah, so is FLKR. They're both 2 GLs that you can mix and match.
Sorry, what unit?
The one you don't have.
I kind of wish we would get another light side UFA to play with.
I do too.
And I'm really kind of hoping we get like
tank.
Marin from
Jedi
Survivor as a light side character. I really hope we do, but more or less not just because I want to have the character, but like I want to be able to switch visas back to being under Ray, because most people don't go after Ray with teams that prevent revives, and since she also has an evasion mastery, I want to watch people just lose their ever-loving mind trying to deal with that. But since C is a Sith, she's going to counterattack.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd love to go back to...
And C is going to be gaining himself TM whenever you gain a buff as well. So that's going to be feeding that mastery gain quite quickly, actually. Yeah. So it would be fun to go back to doing something like that again.
just to having some sort of way to. The original reason I took Visas Martyr Relegate actually was because of Ray. But I would like to have some more flexibility back in what I can do. But they kind of took it all away with the Starkiller team, because there's just the only other UFA I could throw in the team right now is Stick Ray, and that's just not happening. Like, does she hit really hard? Yeah, but she's just
No survivability.
she does nothing.
And you don't need extra damage in a Starkiller team. When you've got Starkiller and you've got Mara Jade, you do not need more damage. Let's be honest. No. You need some level of support, some level of utility in the squad more than you need damage. So that's why Visas is super useful there. But yeah. And maybe you should just R9 your Stick Ray. That's all you should do.
I mean, she's already R7.
That's good enough as far as I'm going.
Heck yeah, I mean, we could just do an extra 2.
She could be a lot of. I mean, if she was a better attacker, then I would be more interested in that. But like, she's just so squishy. I mean, like, I don't have her well modded, but she's only got she got 55k health and 40k protection, so 90k. She's just made a paper for being an attacker that doesn't really hit like extensively hard. You know, it's like I would rather just not.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, at that point, I'm like, I would just rather take like
anything else.
No one to, there's just no other. There's just no, I just
almost
just
any other online force user.
Team. I would rather find another light side character under Ray like Sortie or L3 than try to make Visa Mar come back unless we get more light side UFAs. So, you know, that's where I'm gonna sit on that one for the most part. You know, it's placement based off of what is available to work with.
I still to this day have not invested in L3, and it hurts me. I really wish I had L3.
I haven't either. She's still gear 12.
So unfortunate.
Yeah, she's really good.
Like,
I'm just
hands down one of the best tanks in this game.
Mine is 5-star, gear level 1 and level 50. She's got no love, absolutely zero love. Poor L3. Lando would be so disappointed in me.
L3 is R9.
oh, Carth has a tank at R9. Color me surprised.
Shocking.
I know. Everyone's just blown away by this. But yeah, there's just a lot of things like that where it's like some stuff comes out, so we get some options again, because it kind of feels like teams are back to being pigeonholed. When you're at this, when you're at where I'm at in this game. I know that's a different place for a lot of people who
when
are
you
like,
have literally every toy.
Have Visa Mar at Relicate. Yeah, when you have everything unlocked and as a viable option when you're looking at counters or space like that, then it's a different can of worms.
So you're saying not when you've got like sub 10 million GP.
Yeah.
And no slacker.
Hey, listen, I'm sub 11. I still don't have a relic, so.
No, I mean, I suppose that's fair.
There's always, yeah.
What are you gonna do? I mean, you're just like options.
Exactly.
Like I'm about to finish Zori's list of 7 stars here soon. I'm like, sorry, Zori, you're still not getting gear. You know, I'm just gonna have her.
I would so love to have Zori Bliss. She is so good.
Let's see, Jedi Cal.
Yeah.
Leviathan.
I need to do some more testing, but I'm pretty sure I can make Saw Gerrera just stomp on Zori's nuts. I just needed some more testing to make sure
there's
if
an
I
image.
Make it work or not. Dude,
to this day, if I'm playing GAC and I see a Zori Bliss team on defense, my brain literally goes into shutdown mode. It's like, oh no, it's a Zori Bliss resistance team. I hate it. And then I hope that I beat it. Yeah, Imperial Troopers is very satisfying when Dark Trooper just punches the ever-loving fuck out of Zori and kills her.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it works in some
situations.
And then others just get absolutely rickrolled. I mean, like, a lot of it comes down to like what does Resistance Hero Finn do, and if he targets the right thing and the loop gets going and they blow a hole in your defense before you have a chance to.
That's the secret.
Make a comeback.
You don't let him do anything, because if he takes a turn, it's kind of like, oh, you're dead.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that's the thing too. Is like even with Night Sisters, it's a hard fight to still do because there's so much healing on that
Yeah.
team. You're just like, oh, I
Ridiculous
totally
levels.
got this in the bag, and then you're like, Finn heals for a large portion. Oh, Risen Hero Finn heals because Zori's a support, and then Zori has a heal. It's just like, stop. I want the 1,000 stacks of plagues on you guys, not everybody just healing back to full health every time I.
It's the
think
heals
about it.
they've got, but the damage output on that team is also nutty. Like the amount, like they could just delete units incredibly quickly. It's just it's vile.
Is such a great mechanic.
Yeah. I don't like that team.
25% of your max health. Let's go, bitch.
Yeah. That was the funny thing about one of the. What counter was I using in GAC the other day? I think I was using Radis against something. It was something quite nasty.
Tuskens?
And
Tuskens?
No, and they had like 9 damage over time, 9 exposes on them. I think it might have been Fulcrum. No, Fulcrum was there.
Tuskens?
It was Fulcrum.
It was Tuskens.
Was it? Was it Tuskens?
It was Warrior. Warrior got like 9 exposes, and then you just AoE'd her and she dropped.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Well, I'm glad you remember, because I certainly don't.
It was Chieftain, Warrior, and Boba.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's just fun to watch. Like, when you've got that many exposes, you'll go and die. You'll go and die. Unless you're, Kylo Ren or Crew or Malak or Malgus or any number of GLs or anything that takes reduced damage.
Doesn't know what they do.
Well, no, if you don't know what they do, then you just lose instantly.
Yeah.
Does he yet know what Tuskens do?
No, he doesn't.
Okay. I'm sorry, Rambam. One of these days you'll get it. It's just next to that chapter about lifesteal. When you get to that part of the book, be like Tuskens and lifesteal, and then you'll be a complete and well-rounded swigger player.
I think you mean health steal, right? Was it health steal or lifesteal?
Lifesteal.
I mean,
whatever stealing of the
mechanic.
other person's essence. Yeah, he didn't understand it.
No, he did not. He did not like it. He did not get it. He thought he was gaining actual life. But turns out, Rambam has no life.
Yeah, shout out to our boy Rambam. He's recovering still, so and had some work done, and he's out of commission.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. I hope he's okay. He was in the chat earlier, so
he seems to be doing all right. He's just in pain and recovering, and that's just the way it goes. And so he'll be back to his old nonsense soon enough.
It was the dentist, right? He was having some teeth removed or something.
Yeah, he went. He did, and then it got an infection, and then they went to take care of the infection, and then that went to poo-poo, and he had to go back in to take care of the thing that they had to take care of, and so
I think there's very little on this planet that can be more painful than like toothache and gum infections and stuff like that. That shit can be serious. If you get a really bad abscess and stuff like that in your gums, that can be lethal.
It's right next to your head.
Yeah. that squishy thing inside your skull that's kind of important. Rambam survived because it was hiding away at the back of his head. It was far away from his teeth. It's okay.
And he doesn't have much of a brain, so he was safe in that regards too. So it wasn't much more that damage that could be done to that kind of soft palate.
He's going to come out as some sort of swigger savant, isn't he? He's like, yes, the tooth infection. It gave
I
super
know
powers.
what Tuskens do. Here, let me just show you.
But are you aware of this mechanic? And like, what?
Oh, I know all of it now. Let me just break down the numbers for you with this equation I came up with.
God.
Imagine there's
try to take that serious.
There's a multiverse somewhere where there is that version of Rambam.
There is.
I mean, goddamn.
He's about to be assassinated for being a prick.
We love you, Ram. We love you. Yeah. So, how's your 3v3's weeks gone so far then, Carth and Mr. Ranger J? How they been?
Carth, you want to go first?
2-0.
Same 2-0.
Mr. Big Balls. Oh, is everybody in the chat going 2-0? Oh wow.
Yeah.
We just don't lose. Oh, I've just jinxed myself. Damn it.
I mean,
sorry, guys.
I was in the position of I got knocked out pretty far because I just quit kind of carrying at the tail end of 5v5.
Same.
So my previous opponents, it was just monster advantages, right? My first opponent was 1.6 million GP difference.
Wow.
My second opponent was like 1.4. And my last round here there's about 800,000 GP difference. Actually, about the same 1.6 again. So like
That's usually about the deficit that I operate at. About around the 1 million mark is usually how much more that my opponents have on me.
So it's I had a pretty distinct advantage going into this, but I almost want to throw the last match because I don't want to start next week in the top 20 because that's where I'll be if or somewhere in between. I don't climb nearly as aggressively, but the first week you always gain the most points for wins and losses, so it's always your most aggressive climb.
So next week is going to suck for us then.
Yeah, that extra like 10 points you gain for your wins just becomes an absolute just like I don't want to do this anymore.
Because last week of 5v5 I went 3-0 and I've gone 2-0 now, so that's 5 wins on the bounce. It's going to catch up to me and it's going to hit me like an absolute train, and I'm going to go like 3-0 next week. 0-3, sorry, next week. I can see it happening, and the rage will be real. The tilt will be palpable. I'm sure it'll happen. I'll use a counter. It'll all go tits up, and I'll be like, I hate this game. It sucks.
I just don't feel that way anymore with GAC. I mean, I'll have a moment where I'm like, like you're doing fleet and it's like 5 dodges in a row. Fuck you. It's like, that moment. But if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. It's just, I've given up on trying to be aggressive with GAC because there's no point. I had 10 weeks, 10 GACs. I think this last one went 5-5 because of how it played out with the other events and stuff. I went 4-5. That's because I didn't really try. But I had been 5-4 better in all the previous ones, and I was still top of Kyber 2. No matter what I did, I was just constantly just right there with how I how it was going. So I'm like, I'm just gonna have fun with this. I'll do the right counters. I'll be competitive, but it's like, unless I go like 8-1, there's no way for me to consistently climb out of this position.
Yeah,
and even then, it's
with
going
the
to take
squish
me
and
a
everything.
bunch of 8-1s. Yeah, it's just where it's like, I just get what I get. It's like TW for us. It's like I go in, I set my defense, I look in, I go do 2-3 battles to start, and then I wait and see what happens. But I'll do all my fights if needed. But it's like, if we win, great. If we lose, as long as it wasn't for stupid reasons, I'm like, great, I'm still going to get free shit. Yeah. So it's like, it is what it is at this point.
I try to not let it bother me, but I'm just inherently quite a competitive person. So I hate losing it, but you are right. It comes to a point where you're just like, you shouldn't care.
The individual stuff, just like, God damn it, RNG, what the hell is this shit? That's when it really hurts.
Yeah.
It's like, you have no control over it, and I hate that.
Yeah. Because I'm under no illusions. I'm pretty certain that my Kyber 1 stint is not going to last much longer. I'm going to go on a losing streak and I'll get knocked out of Kyber 1. And I'm not going to be, like, when I hit Kyber 2 again, I'm not going to be pissed. I'm not going to be like, God damn it, I'm out of Kyber. I'll just be like, oh, well. I might jump back into Kyber 1 for a week or something some other time. We'll just let it happen. It's not a huge, massive material difference to me if I'm in Kyber 1 or 2. It's more the personal sting, the ego slap that I get from it. I'm like, oh, I want to be in Kyber 1. But hey, want to be in Kyber 1 without the competition. Can they do that? Can they put me up against a bunch of people that suck at the game, but leave me in Kyber 1? No, I'm not allowed free crystals? God damn it, Ranger. What's the point of having, Meathead come into the chat occasionally if they can't give me easy GAC matchups?
Because they will just install a switch on their board like they have for Ranger of just saying, yeah, Illuminati activated.
It's like, oh, Ranger's doing his GAC. Oh, he's doing his GAC. Right. Yeah.
Let's take down the servers. Yeah, it's really not GAC. It's more about, mods. You're trying to get a pack. So that's when... They've got, and I've confirmed it with Crumb and I've interviewed them and had them on even recently. And it's like they confirmed the dial and buttons are there for me with my name on it.
Just
Illuminati.
Yeah, they look across your streams, and whenever they catch you mentioning something at least slightly,
So they hear
now it's
against
time.
CG.
Yeah. Time for mod depression. They're like, oh.
Spilling their coffee, like, oh, get to the button.
Amazing.
Yeah,
my gosh.
I mean, they've really kind of minimized the like. I think Kyber 1 to Kyber 2 for a lot of players was a pride thing for a little bit, but now with how small Kyber 2 is, I mean, it's like, yeah, does it really matter? You know, you got under 1,000 players inside of Kyber 1 now. Like,
isn't it like it's like 1,200 or something? I think at the moment.
Yeah, something like that.
I had to look at it recently.
I know, but it's a very small number. Yeah, it was supposed to be the top 10% of the player base, and it's not anymore. Well, it's like when the people, like we've had guild members complain about, well, you know, look at the guy I'm facing this go around, and we're in Kyber 2. It's like, well, yeah, because they had to go somewhere.
Yeah, they're not going to
Like,
disappear.
they didn't magically just stop playing in Kyber 1. Like, they got squished out or beaten out by players that take it far more serious, and then they wound up in Kyber 2. It's like,
well, I
that's
remember
how the game works.
When Kyber 1 first came out, it was about 4,000 players in Kyber 1, because I was at the bottom of Kyber 1.
It was a bit more than that, wasn't it?
A little bit more than that.
I was around rank 4,000 or 4,400 or something like that at the bottom of Kyber 1. So it couldn't have been much more. Maybe there were 5,000 players or something like that. But when you consider it used to be that, and now it's like 1,200 players, we're like a quarter of what we used to have.
Like I thought it started out like closer to 10.
No, I think
maybe it did, but.
Maybe it did. Shit, I don't remember.
Well, because the thing is too is like when you're at the bottom end of something, you'll have like chunks of players who are all the same score. Like with where I'm at, like you'll have players that are with one or two of each other, and then you'll see these as you get to the higher ranks, you'll see them jump by, leagues of 40 points. Like for right now, if I win my last round, I'll go from 35 to like 18. If based on the current score set up for everything. So like I'm gonna jump not near as many places, but my score is gonna be massively different, comparatively speaking, to somebody who's only a few places behind me. Versus like when you're out in the thousands, like you'll win, but you'll jump hundreds of places. And that's the biggest thing with how their match-based system works, which I think is the hardest part for players, is that a 3-0 run is almost more detrimental to your matchmaking than intentionally sacking around and doing a 2-1. Like it's almost best to go 6-3 if you're in an environment where that's plausible. Like basically, the best, I guess, better way to phrase this is that if you're on the verge of going 3-0, just sack the last round. Don't do it, because I think it'll be better for you next week in matchmaking to incrementally climb forward than astronomically climb forward, because that's the difference. 2-1, you climb 40 points. 3-0, you climb 120.
Nice.
So you go 3 times as far going 3-0 than you do 2-1, which is just ridiculous, because you go from a competitive pool of comparable players to just getting your absolute butt handed to you for a week straight, because you've gone from top 100 to top 20. Yeah, and that's just how it is. And then 3-0 puts you right back to where you were, and then you win again, you come back. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel like that's where I kind of hate like the pods. Like I know for them it's easier to do their matchmaking that way, but I almost kind of wish like every round was just a brand new like reimagining, but then it would hurt how the reward structure is and everything like that. But I feel like you don't get an accurate comparison of how you perform. Like this week, I'm stomping on fools because I am massively bigger accounts than they are, right? Yeah. So it's not like I'm doing anything crazy to be better. I just have more, right? That's how I'm winning. So doing 2-0.
Like GAC typically falls into like a number of avenues in which dictate if you win, right? There's the what have you got in your roster, what's like your investment into your roster, so your GP, your Zetas, your Omicrons. Then you've got like how good are your mods, and then you've got how good are your Datacrons, and then you've got how good is the skill base of the player. And you can take away one or two of those things and still perform, but if you've got all of them at the top end, then if you're against a comparable player, you'll kill them, if you've got more GP, but the same level of Datacron investment in Omicrons and stuff like that, or if you've got just that much more skill, there are different avenues that help you win in GAC, right? It's not always just down to one, but when you are like you are in your position where you've got 1,200,000 more GP than these players, and you've already got all the Datacrons, and you've already got good modding, and you've already know the skills and the counters, you're just going to piss on everybody.
Well, it's the reason where I had the option to just hammer through an LV team, though I had no GLs left to fight it. Right? Like I ended up winning with Poggle lead, GBA, and Droidica. That was my team. And I had an armor pen cron and an offense with offense on it, and Droidica was able to just slowly chunk through them. We landed the ability block every single time, and he never did anything besides the basic the entire fight after he got past his first 2 turns for me to catch up to him. And that was the fight, the entire fight.
Nice.
Just watching that slowly tick down. But how many people have R7 Geonosians and R7 Droidica? Like, it's not an investment point for a lot of people. And so that's where it just becomes, I have the ability to constantly keep throwing mud at the wall to see what sticks, where a lot of other players, like, once you run out of relics, good luck. Like, you don't, like, the mechanics just don't really support that playstyle anymore. And so it's like having, when you're a couple 100,000 off, it's a couple, it's a few different, maybe you might have a couple team, you might have some more G12s than me, but when you're talking millions of points, like, that's relics difference. Like, I'm closing in on 13 million, and the smallest thing in my roster right now is a relic 1 character besides the new marquees, right? So it's like, that just gives me so much more stuff to play with than anybody else ever have an option to use. So we'll just see what ends up happening in the long run there.
Yeah. Usually for me, if I've got it down, if I've thrown a couple of teams at a Lord Vader, then I'm hosed. I'm like, okay, I'm just not getting through this. I quite often try to. It depends on the Lord Vader team, obviously. If somebody has done a stupid thing and not put Maul with their Lord Vader, then I'm happy because I'm like, oh, I don't need to piecemeal this. This is a one tap, you know. But if I'm going against a proper difficult Lord Vader team with a good Datacron, and I mess up my counter and I'm not able to clear it up with Fennec, I'm like, well, I either have to blow a GL on this, which means I'm not clearing another section, or I just don't clear this section, and I've got nothing else because I don't have that level of roster depth where I can start throwing stuff at Lord Vader and actually have it work.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how things kind of progress with as they move forward with this stuff. I'm really hoping at some point they address the squishing to quit making it so drastic. I would like to see more like, I don't mind the top 100 getting punished drastically, because you do want to make them comparable, right? They eventually want to bring them back closer to the players that are climbing up, so that they're not always inside that gauntlet, right? But the part that I don't like is when you just get everyone kicked out. It's like at the end of Kyber 1, or sorry, not Kyber 1, of 3v3, like, of a season, of a GAC season, if you are not over 3,700, you're going to get relegated back to Kyber 2 at the end of the season, because you're going to lose 100 points. And so I kind of wish that, like, basically it's like the top like people, if you're more than 200 points ahead than, like, the top 50, then you lose 100 points, but then everybody else loses like a few. Like, I would just rather have more people in Kyber 1 to have more diversity without having to be this constant, like, I don't know, crazy
whatever
swing.
This is.
Yeah.
I just wish Kyber 1 was bigger again. That I don't think there's a good reason for it to be such a small pool. Maybe it is still just an accurate reflection of what the top 10% of the game is like, but
we wouldn't care so much, but crystals are involved, right? And then extra crystals does make a difference, so it's one of those things. I'm with you guys. It's one of those things where you just, they'll get around to it when they get around with it. Until then, you know, I'm gonna have some apathy toward it. You know, I mean, because it's nice being the Kyber one, but you know, I'm not gonna kill myself like I used to.
No, exactly.
You know, the days, you know, and of course it was different GAC back then, but you took it seriously. You scouted your opponent, you saw what they normally did, and you know, you finished in a season when we had 4 weeks, you know, 11-1, 12-0, right? We had the GAC Center looking at everybody's stuff, and we were competing against ourselves just to see who can have the best record, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, those days are done. Once this new format started and we were doing GAC Center Share, we were looking at it because, you know, it's like, what's the point? Yeah, it's like it's a whole new world.
Ranger has absolutely got the skill and the roster and the datacrons and the mods to perform in Kyber 1. He absolutely could totally be in Kyber 1 if he wanted to be. But it's just like the level of investment and stress involved in probably wanting to actually get up there. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth like racking your brains and getting so wound up about every single little thing. Because like it takes a lot out of you, especially when you do it live as well. And you've got to put, you know, there's a certain level of expectation on a streamer to try and perform well at least. But if you yourself are comfortable in not going complete 100% try hard in front of your community, then they don't expect you to be, you know, winning every GAC or coming up with kooky counters and all this sort of business.
Yeah. And just sitting there forever trying to figure out. I'm just more like, what SWGoH.gg is saying, but I'll take that into consideration. But sometimes it's like, yeah, it is. But if I use this team here and this team there, then once I make a decision, I'm just like, it's either going to work or it's not. I'm not going to sit there and sit there and putz around with it and spend 30 minutes on each team trying to figure out. I just don't want to do that because I think that's, for me, I'd rather be hanging out with the crowd and doing and other things and being goofy and stuff. So, but it's really, it's what you have, you know, there is skill to it, but you know, it's really not, because if either you have it or you don't. And if you do have it, is it good enough to face what they have? And then if you do, you know, what's the RNG going to be on it? You know, so it's not that I don't know the counters, you know, it's like I've seen it enough where I'm like, well, it's Java, JMK. What's the cron? 500%. Shit. Well, let's see what happens. Sometimes I win, sometimes I don't. And if I don't win, I'm like, well, we can't clear that. Let's just clear north and see what we can do, because I'm not getting through that Java. I just don't have a team that can get through that. Sometimes you can, but it's just one of those things, or sometimes it's become feast or famine with datacrons, you know. So yeah, and the more you climb into Kyber 1, the more datacrons are rolled with those stats to see those
without a doubt
things. And if you don't have it because you can't or won't invest in them, you're fighting an uphill battle, because you could win. It's possible with the right RNG, but most likely you're going to get stomped.
It's, you know, like I was saying to Carth earlier, it's like it's not only one, it's never one thing that determines if you win or lose a GAC match, right? There's your roster, there's your skill, there's your datacrons, there's your mods, and there's RNG. Like, there's all these sort of things. Being really good in one area, I don't care how good you are at the game. If you've got a 1 million GP account, you're not going to beat the guy with 12 million GP. Like, skill is not going to make up that difference. It'll make up smaller differences. And then, you know, similarly, if you've got a 12 million account GP, but you've got zero skill and you don't understand any matchups, you're not really going to win many matches, right? You need to have an element of everything, and then RNG can still screw you out of a win. Or the game can crash, or you accidentally take the wrong team in, or something like that, or you forget to equip your datacron and hit battle. I've done that.
or like Mort on Friday night, where he was attacking the resistance fleet with evasion up, which is what, 25% additional evasion. Had 5 consecutive dodges.
Yeah, that's just grim, man.
Like, what do you do? What do you do? And 25% of the time it happens 100% of the time.
Yeah. It's nuts.
It's like, you sit there and you just have to take
get yourself some Sex Panther.
You just realize that it's not your day, and that's just kind of the crazy part of how some of that stuff plays out. You know, when you get RNG heavy dependent, it kind of sucks. But I mean, it's unfortunate because, you know, back when we all started playing, the game was based off of build your counter, use your counter to that team, have a nice day. And now it's like, well, you have the counter, But this Datacron might make it impossible.
Yeah.
Or just through the sheer mechanic. Oh, would you hush up? My dog is giving me all kinds of attitude because I've got some chicken here and I'm not. I've given him some. But
he's like,
yeah. He's got the whole body tremors and just giving me the.
Oh, I mean,
anyways,
I had a donut earlier, and we know how that goes with Smudgy and Indie Kits in the house. They love their donuts more than I do. And crazy little feasting kittens.
Well, we've got 2 cats here now, 2 little kittens, Mischief and Mayhem, and both black as night, and they are living up to their names. But Mayhem will eat anything. Mischief is just the opposite, and they are sisters. And yeah, Mischief doesn't give a shit what you're eating. She's just like, I'm gonna sleep. I don't want to eat that stuff. And Mayhem's over there like jumping into your plate, like, what do we got? Oh, I've never had this before. Let me try all this stuff. Like, get the hell out of my plate. She did it to me yesterday. I sat down and I'm just like, I'm gonna eat, and she just like, oh, now you want to be my friend? Yeah. Hi. You want to pet me? Pet me. Give me your food. I'll steal your soul. I'm looking right at you.
Right. Pet me while I eat your food. Okay, human, come on.
Oh, she loves that. Like when she's eating, she'll purr. I'll start petting her, when she's eating her food. And Mischief's just the opposite. She's like, don't touch me. But then Mischief is where Mayhem doesn't like to be touched when she's sleeping. Mischief comes up to me when she's ready to lay down. She'll take a nap and she'll raise her head up like, scratch me. I'm ready for sleep. It's like, you little
now's the time.
Man.
Yeah, cats are very much sort of they will take petting on their terms or not at all.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, Buddy, he was the center of attention for all these years, and now he's not. He gets super jelly because I'll see him. He'll come over and just give me this sad look, like, "Are you going to pet me next to?" It's like, Buddy, God damn it, Buddy. You're still my favorite guy. And come over, like he'll get in between me and the cats. Like, no, pet me, not them. What are you doing? I'm the man. So I was like, no, buddy. Go over here. Kitties need love too, dum-dum. He's just so... Pets are crazy, man. They're so funny.
Yeah, I love them. Cute little personalities, the whole lot of them. But, yeah, and that's kind of GAC in a nutshell. It's like pets, man. Sometimes you get to stroke them, and sometimes they just bite your hand off. Just got to learn to live with it. The
pain and suffering.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting that Malicos in what, about a month and a bit? A month and a bit, we'll get Malicos out here.
You got your oofers ready. I'm telling you, man.
Oh, they're rare.
Get those oofers ready.
Well, I just need Seer. I need Seer's shards. I'll take her straight to R7, and then I've got like a Seer, most likely crew, Cal Kestis, Fulcrum, and then Malicos. That'll be the team, and that'll be have fun with that one, guys.
Yeah, you're going to be a little behind because with Malicos, and if you get Jedi Cal, you should work on him first before you go get Leia.
For sure.
So that'll put you a little bit behind the 8 ball. But they're both, all those characters are worth it, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, Saul's the only one that's like, with Tarful, I'm just pleasantly happy how good he is. I'm pleasantly happy with
everybody else. I'm leaving at Gear 12. I'm for the Jedi Cal
you don't
unlock.
Need him any higher right now.
Yeah, I'm just going for the unlock and forget. For those guys,
it was a fun event. They did a really, really good job at that event. I was like, all right, CG, you did your homework. You did, because I played that game. I didn't do Survivor, but I did do Fallen Order. And I was like,
great game.
Good at you, CG. You really did your homework, because I saw the stages that they went for this event. It was like match per match perfect what they did in Fallen Order. I was like, all right, nicely done.
It's good.
Good job. And it's not hard, and it's well worth doing if you have them at Gear 12. I mean, there's a couple of puzzles here and there you have to figure out, like when to do certain attack stuff, but outside of that, it was very, very well put together. Yeah, you guys, when you do the Jedi Cal event, you'll enjoy it. It's really fun.
I like it when they don't make.
First one was just pulling teeth.
Oh my god! Which is weird. Most people struggle with the first one with Hondo, but I had mine at Relic 7 because I had done him immediately before anything, and so I had him at Relic 7. I didn't have any problem with him. Sana kicked my ass, which is the opposite of what everybody else went through. So I got through Hondo, no problem. I got the Sana. She was only, I think, Relic 3 or 5, whatever she needed to be for the event, and I mean, God Almighty, that was brutal. All right, you two. I see that look.
Carth's dogs. Love them. They want some snacks, I think, Carth. They want some snacks.
They want some Daddy, I see you got some chicken there. What you got there? Yeah, what you got over there, Daddy? We want some of that chicken. Shut up, woman. I'm trying to get the chicken.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've got Hondo at Relic 7 already. I don't have Afra, but I took him to Relic 7 already, so I'm sure if I eventually get round to getting Afra, which may or may not happen sometime after Slacker, which is the tail end of
Put it on the list, Slacker, Afra.
Yeah. Well, exactly. If she's after Slacker, God, I'm never getting her. God damn. But like my Hondo did great work in GAC yesterday. 2 days ago. He took out that Malgus team. It was like Malgus, Talon, Sith Assassin. I think it was a weird team, and I went in with a crew lead.
That's a team you can do it with.
Yeah, it was crew lead. Obviously Hondo, and then someone. I can't remember who was the last one. I don't think it was massively important who the last one was. But yeah,
you just have tanks. You just have people in front of them, and like crew was a perfect one to do because it allows him time. It allows him time to ramp, and once he ramps, like he'll kick the shit out of the Marin team.
Well, a Hondo with triple stacks of Beskar armor. Turns out he is an irritating guy to try and kill.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't critting him. And if you hit him, he's counterattacking. And then he's going to be evading out of the wazoo, and he's going to be stacking that max protection. Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah. It was a good time. He soloed it, basically. So,
all right, guys. I know we're getting to the tail end of this.
Mm-hmm.
3 more days. Ahsoka's coming.
Yeah, I cannot. Actually, isn't she coming out earlier? Didn't they bring it forward a day? 22nd now.
22nd,
yeah.
Tuesday.
I can't wait,
Tuesday
man.
Or Wednesday?
Tuesday. They moved it a day forward.
Yeah. And we're getting double bubble episode, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's 2 episodes. Yep. I can't wait.
It's like an
if
hour.
The show is as good as the trailers, man.
Yeah.
Like if the show is as good as the trailers, it's gonna be fucking dope. It's gonna be absolutely dope.
What I've heard so far, which is nothing.
I've heard probably the same thing. Yeah, no spoilers, but
is that basically if you liked Rebels,
you're gonna
love Ahsoka. If you're more of a passive Star Wars fan, you're probably going to enjoy it. But coming out of the rip and watching something for Star Wars, if you don't have there's a lot of stuff that's callbacks to the Rebels TV show.
Yeah, that means I've got 2 days to watch Rebels. Oh, I couldn't get through it.
Just seasons 3 and 4. You don't need to watch 1 and 2.
Well, I've already seen season 1. Like I watched season 1 and I started watching season 2 and I was just like, oh my days, why am I doing this to myself?
Well, and you can go find YouTube videos that will give you the short, condensed, what you need to know out of that. But it's just one of those things where it's like, Filoni has he wrote like every episode for Ahsoka. So this is a lot of it for him is reestablishing the world, and essentially Ahsoka is basically like Rebel season 5 essentially is what people are getting vibes of. It's like a lot of it is carrying over where they left off at the end of the series and picking up those pieces and now moving them forward. And granted, that's just the first 2 episodes, not the entirety of
the show. Yeah, that's what I heard.
The show, but it's definitely kind of moving. Yeah, they want to pick up some of those threads and drag them forward because I think a lot of it just helps tie the fan base to what's going on currently and helps us get vested faster into what's being presented versus trying to re-explain everything as to how we got here. They're kind of leaning in on the fact that like we're really hoping that you either watch some sort of like this is what you need to know, or you watch Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, it's a pretty good assumption to rank. A lot of people watch Star Wars Rebels. I mean, from kids to adults. I mean, that was especially toward the tail end, that was a very popular series. But yeah, and there's some of the most powerful moments in Star Wars are in Rebels, and all I got to say is Ahsoka versus Vader and Maul versus Obi-Wan. Man,
you really need to watch season 3 and 4. Like you really need to watch season 3 and 4.
Apparently, I do.
1 and 2 are really well because
there's some good moments in theirs, but man, Season
one
3
and
and 4, man. God damn.
well, 1 and 2 though is the epitome of what happened when Disney bought out Star Wars.
Yeah.
They wanted to make Rebels a show for kids, and that is a
Mhm.
hard reason why we get to see Ezra so young.
Okay.
But when we go to season 3 and 4,
Yeah.
there is a massive time jump, and I mean it's a few years.
Yeah.
Ezra is definitely into being like 14, 15 years old now. You know, he goes from being a little kid to he's much taller. He's lost the long hair. He's aged quite a bit. He's a little bit more assertive and less of a child through those episodes. And the things they're dealing with are a little bit more
Way more adult.
Yeah, adult themed. You know, it's like when you get into like season 5 of Clone Wars. I don't know how far you've watched into that, but like season 5 and 6 of Clone Wars gets dark in a real hurry, and they start dealing with some of the actual like real world implications of a galactic wide war, right? Not just like on today's snippet of the battlefield, we've done.
On the previous episode, we were picking our noses and farting.
Yeah, so it's like there's a lot of changes that happen on that, which would be interesting to see how it all plays loose in the Ahsoka series. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Probably the first one I probably will watch episode by episode from Disney Star Wars. Everything else I've always waited till it comes out because I just can't be asked to sit there and wait. Well,
that's fair.
Because it's the one thing that happens when you write a series like this that is fairly dependent upon like being viewed like in together. Because I feel like you get too much of a break. You spend too much time over analyzing. Things don't live up quite to the hype between episodes. Like the tail end of season 3 of Mando, right? Like the tail end, you knew had to kind of go somewhere away from where we had been because they want to pull apart the Mandoverse and go different directions, right? That was the objective. So we had this thing where we kind of had to break everything apart and pull things away. So like the last episode, not nearly the same hype as the previous one.
No, the previous episode was phenomenal.
Tons of action, tons of cool stuff going on. But the other one was like the, it's like the third Hobbit movie all over again. You know, you have 20 minutes of action you could have slammed on the end of the last movie. And then nothing. Like it's just, and this is how the rest of the story ends, and that's kind of what happens with some of these Star Wars things. Is I rather watch them in one full bit because then I treat it as like, it should be.
Well, they're designed to lead you on as well, right? It's supposed to hook you and be like, oh my god, I want to watch the next episode because they want people to tune in. Or in Disney's case, they want people to maintain their Disney Plus membership for another month just to see, what's the next episode going to have, So that is a little bit frustrating to deal with, but I can't wait though.
I mean, Andor is still Andor has set the standard that I kind of view these now because Andor was phenomenal. I mean, God almighty, that show was so good. And I would say Mando season 2 is right behind it with the writing, the way they told the story, everything that goes on in that, and really capped off with one of the most amazing things ever, So we'll see. Is it going to be more like those, or is it going to be more like Book of Boba Fett and
I think
Kenobi, I hope not.
Which had great moments, but there was too many not great moments for me that it's like I'm 50-50. There's some epic just and powerful moments where I'm just like, oh, this is so good, and then there's other parts I'm like, what?
Yeah, but like that's the downside of like Kenobi. It's more like a buffet. There's parts of it that I really enjoy because I'm excited to see a character I like doing stuff again. But the totality of the story is very underwhelming because it just feels kind of awkward and forced. But Andor did a great job of doing their storytelling, of building up a world where we basically had a connection to one character, and then they built out a very intricate storyline from that. That made a lot of sense. And I think this one's going to be fairly well put together because Dave Filoni is just, babysitting this whole process. But I kind of want them to get away. I kind of like the old style Clone Wars thing. I kind of want them to go that direction with the Skeleton Crew, where it's a little bit more like OG season 1 Mando, where each episode's a little bit more contained. It's a little bit more of we're introducing,
not necessarily a massive overarching story.
Yeah, we are introducing facets to the world we want to build, but we're doing it in modules. We're not trying to create, this is the big bad, we've got to beat him, here's how we make it happen, and then you spend 3 episodes with Jedi Knight Luke and Grogu and Mando on some other planet, and we don't understand why, the Book of Boba Fett is about Bam and Luke. So that's kind of where I kind of hope things go to, as a little bit more of a, let's build the world out, because we do know at some point this whole series will culminate in the theatrical release of a film that will have the entirety of that put together as how it ends, so to speak. Yeah, and I look forward to that day. I really do. Yep. I mean, I can't wait for Ahsoka, man. I just can't wait.
The problem with Kenobi was not Ewan McGregor. I could watch that and read a phone book. I mean, and he has some moments in there that are just incredible. His speech to Leia, his reaction to his fight with Vader. There's just a lot of just amazing Kenobi moments in that series, but there's just other stuff that I'm just like,
Yeah, Princess Leia running away from goons. It was just kind of, I can stretch my imagination and my belief only so far.
Yeah, because they didn't even try, man. The way she was running, I'm like,
Well, and that's the thing too, is that I was listening to some interviews of the day, and Ian McGregor had come out and said, when he was first pitched the story for Kenobi, it was supposed to be about him and Luke.
Okay.
And how they were supposed to develop this, like, estranged father figure, kind of shows up, and he's around, but he's not all there all the time. He's trying to, conceal his identity as to what's happening. And then I think the director for the series came out and said, it was like, well, by the time I was hired on, they were doing the rewrite for Leia. And so it's like, which it just kind of shows, like, I'm not trying to knock their storytelling capabilities, but it just goes to show, is like, when you have an agenda you're trying to write for, it makes the story kind of lackluster, because you have to start getting to point A to point B, and sometimes you have to force it, especially when it's short windows or you're running out of time frame to film it or whatever else. And so, I don't.
This just reminds me of the whole problem with the sequel trilogy in general, was that if pivotal points of the story are changing that far in production, there's an issue there. That quality control is going to suffer, because you could make this Obi-Wan Kenobi story still be about bonding with Leia and rescuing her without having trash in it. It could have still been an absolutely phenomenal TV series. But if they haven't even decided that skeleton, just like in the sequel trilogy, where they didn't know who's Rey's parenthood, we're 2 episodes into the film's trilogy, it's like, okay, how are you supposed to convince us that this is a good story when you don't even know what the story is? It's just like,
and when you have, like, especially in the trilogy series, it's like, because J.J. Abrams did 7 and 9, and for the movies he created, they were fine. They were 70%. They were a solid C degree. You get to, they were just a movie. But like Rian Johnson between wrote so many atrocities that had to be retconned going into 9, that it's like literally the first 45 minutes of episode 9 is just a montage of everything they have to fix. Yeah, it's just like everything you need to fix, and that's the thing, is I don't like when, like, I don't mind Moses Ingram as an actress. I don't mind how she played Reva.
Neither do I.
What I don't like is how it's like she's the only one to draw this conclusion that has been so blatantly obvious. It's just like it's the things that they use as like plot devices to get from point A to point B. It's like, well, she's the one that figures it out. I'm like, it wasn't a mystery. Like, Palpatine should have been blatantly aware that there was a connection between the Organas and Kenobi and Anakin and Padme. Yeah. Like, it was her inner circle. Like, this is not a surprise. Like,
yeah.
How did we not get there faster?
Yeah, she figured it out, but Vader just in there going,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I want to kill Kenobi.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I can't figure out how to find him.
There's this thing called the Force, by the way.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing is that they did so many poor plot devices that really kind of made you dislike characters a lot. You spent 3 episodes showing Kenobi being basically a useless waste of space, and then we're supposed to believe by the end of it, he is an almighty god just slinging rocks at Vader like he ain't got no force consumption.
I'm okay with that plot arc. I'm completely fine with that as a character development arc. Like, I think it's fine. It's totally cool to have him suffering from some sort of PTSD after the Clone Wars and everything that happened to him. I'm okay with that being an overarching character development thing for him. But for me, the stupid stuff was just like, why do we even need Reva? Why has she got so much relevance? Why is this?
What makes her different than the other Inquisitors?
Exactly. What do we need her for?
They were all former Jedi too.
Exactly. It's supposed my expectation was that this was about Kenobi, and it felt like yes, Kenobi had the character development, but it wasn't given the spotlight that it needed, and we needed to see more of Kenobi. I'm sorry, but I have to go back to Chase with Leia.
I have Ewan McGregor. I will have the camera on him, and 90% of this you don't like it, then fire me. Are you kidding me? It's Ewan McGregor.
It's like I believe it was in the same episode, right? It was the same episode, or maybe they were one episode apart, where there's the point where Kenobi has to circumvent a laser that you can walk around. That laser gate that you can literally just take 5 foot, walk around it, and go through. It's like, okay, great. And the same, either the same episode or the episode afterwards is where Vader goes through the town mercilessly killing people. It's like, how can you have something so badass and something so fucking stupid in the same show? It's like, come on. Vader snapping that kid's neck was like, oh my god, that's dark.
Oh my god, he was killing people left and right.
Well, and that's the difference of having different directors for every episode. But that was my point though, back to Kenobi's regression to being the shell of the man that he used to be to then being full force, is you kind of see almost like it's a switch that clicks on, and not like he has any real dialogue or development that goes, hey, I gotta stop being sad about myself and how things ended and not being able to save my friend and save my Jedi Order and everyone that I lost at the end of the Clone Wars, into reconciling that and realizing that his mission is to take care of the offspring of Padme and Anakin. But the thing is though, is that's how we ended episode 3, and I'm like, so where's the disconnect? I feel like we don't get enough time in. I think there should have been an episode where we see Kenobi's descent into being a recluse and a hermit, and having that conversation of almost getting caught using the Force, and he's teaching himself how to live without it because he's done it so long, and kind of get to the point where he's just a normal person. He's not a Jedi anymore. And then we can swing back the other way to okay, but if I want to do these things, I want to help people, I want to be a part of these movements that are fighting against things that I couldn't stop from happening. Okay, well, I have to get back into being a Jedi. I have to start training again. I have to start, opening my connections up again, and have that full kind of pendulum swing back to being the Kenobi we love, and then have him just go beat the shit out of Anakin, which we got that part, which I'm okay with. But it's just, again, it's called Kenobi, and yet we spent the majority of time with a faction that nobody's really that interested in, besides a few people, and a main character who doesn't make sense because they rushed her so much. She just she's important, deal with it. Why? Because she's angrier than everybody else. That's the whole dark side. They're always angry. Why do we care?
Have you seen Jedi Fallen Order? Have you met Second Sister?
Yeah. They're angry.
Did you meet Trilla?
I would have liked to have her in the show because I thought her backstory was more dynamic than Reva's was. Because that would have been a more
cool,
fascinating character. No connection with either of them, but she'd been through the process, and then she rebels, and then and I thought that would have been something different, but yeah.
Well, I mean, Survivor's been out for a while now, so I'm not going to feel too bad about saying this, but like that's what I liked about the character Bode in Survivor.
Yeah.
He literally is the epitome of the title. He chose his way to survive, which was basically to snitch on his buddies. And he becomes not really an inquisitor, but he's basically working for the Empire as an agent, and he kind of hides his identity from everybody else, and to survive and keep his family alive. And it's those kind of pulls that make a character interesting. Not, well, you stabbed me at the Jedi Temple, and now I want to kill you in return because you didn't kill me at the time. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Revenge is a powerful motivator.
Anything else you want to know about? Well, it's like they use like the tiniest of thread of how Darth Maul survived, right? From Kenobi slicing him in half. Well, hatred held him together, and that's how he became. Yeah.
There's only so many times you can do that, man. Like, how many times did Reva die? Twice? She died twice, and Grand Inquisitor died once, and they're still alive. Like, come on. Like, there needs to be stakes. There needs to be actual stakes, not the meal.
When Mario becomes the plot points of your TV show, it doesn't work. I don't need a character with lives. I need a character that worth consequences. It's like,
because if everybody just keeps coming back, it's like there's
no
value
the thing
to
is
it.
Too, the thing is too is that how they went about bringing Maul back was actually very clever, because Maul doesn't just come back. He has to get rescued by Savage. But Maul is completely just a wreck. He is so consumed by the madness that he is just a crazed individual made out of, spider legs and stuff like that. He's just not parts. He's not human. He's only literally being held alive by the hatred that he feels for Kenobi, but it's consumed his entire thought process. He is not a person. He is just a delusional, hulking monstrosity on some junkyard planet, that his brother goes and gets. And his brother has to subdue him, and then take him back to Dathomir, and then the witches basically cleanse his memories of that time of his life, right? Essentially prior to the being killed by Kenobi, and then rebuild him with the legs and everything else, and then he becomes kind of the new Maul that we see back in the new one. But he has this whole arc of how he gets back to being a character that is a threat to the galaxy. Reva just apparently didn't bleed out in time in the temple, and she was able to somehow get through it, and then teleport 20 years later from wherever she got stabbed by Vader again to Tatooine. So, magic.
All that good stuff, yeah.
But yeah, anyways, I could sit there and nitpick the problems of everything that they've done with Star Wars since Disney has bought it. And it seems easier to do that now because of how things, we have a lot more exposure. There's a lot more things to talk about. There's a lot more story. There's a lot more world around it. So you can kind of pick out the indiscrepancies between how things are supposed to function.
Of course. And hindsight is 2020. It's easy to look back and say, God, this was so bad. But I still remember when The Force Awakens came out and people loved it. And I remember when The Rise of Skywalker came. I remember watching Rise of Skywalker, and loads of people I spoke to said they loved it. And it's only afterwards that people have said, no, it was terrible. It's the worst piece of shit I've ever seen. And I'm like, come on, man.
Episode 7 was it was a good movie. It
was safe, is what it was.
But it was a very similar take to Episode 4, right? Same,
it was a New Hope.
Basically the same overall plot. A New Hope 2.0. Mm-hmm. Episode 9 had a lot of good points in it, but I think the part that it's like when you go back and reflect on the story, I think is where Episode 9 starts to pick at you a little bit, because you're like, well, that doesn't really make sense. Well, why did this happen? Well, what are we doing over here? Did they really explain how we got to this point? And I think that's the main thing for me, is like, I just get to the point where I'm like, write me a good story. I don't care about the details of the characters. Write me a good story. Write me a story that makes sense, and then we can sit there and go, okay, well, let's fill this out how you want to do. But like, I think that's always the problem. Is like, you have these tropes that they want to capitalize on because they're marketable at the time, and which is fine to a degree. But then when you start overdoing it, it's like putting too much salt in your food. Like a little bit of salt is fine. Sometimes a lot of salt's not too bad. But you get to too much salt.
Man, if you're making pasta, you need a lot of salt in there. I'm just saying.
It becomes inedible, and you just don't want it at all. I think that's where we got to pretty fast in Star Wars, that they wanted to add these tropes in that were marketable and that they thought were positive things for the community. And then the saturation hit, mid-production, that people were like, we really don't care about this that much. And they're like, well, it's already in the works. We've already filmed it. Can't really do much about it now. Is what it is. And they just kept sending it. And I mean, look at this last year. Disney's lost like $6 billion in their movies this year. They're looking at a real possibility of selling out their movie production company to somebody else. And it's like, it's like they just create quality and everything follows after. Don't try to ship a tape together cardboard box and then be surprised when it falls apart upon delivery.
It's hard to create a good story when you don't know how the story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's just you need to have that, guys. Nobody writes a trilogy and doesn't know what the actual touch points are. Like key information about your protagonists is not even known. How are you supposed to convince people? It's stupid. Anyway, I think we've rambled long enough today, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. Is there anything you guys want to say? We're closing out this episode of Tribe Talks.
No, I think we've covered the gambits in this one.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit going on.
Done the works.
Got quite a bit left to do.
Yeah. So, I want to thank you both for coming and joining me once again. Ranger, I do very much appreciate you coming at short notice. I appreciate you, buddy.
Anytime, brother.
Good stuff, man. We will see you all online on Twitch, I'm sure, very, very soon. But for another Tribe Talks next Sunday, baby. Let's do this.